welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, April 4th, 2018, show number 1170. I'm Shawn King.
And I'm Melissa King.
How you doing?
I just want everybody to know that I didn't get an April Fool's joke made on me.
That's your fault, people. We could have had so much fun talking about that on the show right now, but you guys voted to not let me do it. She's so proud of herself.
So I woke up very calm and cool and collected on April 1st.
It sucked.
Next to a very sad, despondent Shawn.
Well, because for one of the few times in my life, I have this wonderful, gullible, sweet person I could have done just the best jokes on.
Oh, next year.
I'm not putting it to a vote next year.
No, you don't have to. I'm up for it next year.
Are you?
Yeah.
Are you really? Are you really?
If you're nice to me.
Well, no, that's not the point of it. Oh, God. You can't have a nice April Fool's joke.
Oh, look what Mo says.
What does Mo say?
He says, we love her more than we love you. Deal. And then Magman says, since when do you listen to us?
Fair point. On tonight's show, as always, we'll talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. I'm going to talk about Apple's possibly going to be making its own chips for MacBooks and the iPad iPhone combination. That's pretty obvious. They've been working on this for years. Mark Gurman's Bloomberg report is not anything new. It's just the latest and greatest iteration of that. We'll talk to Jim about that idea, whether he thinks it will fly. Apple also hired a new vice president of artificial intelligence. This is really important because this guy reports directly to Tim Cook. The old line is you can tell how important something is to a company by how close that person is to the CEO. So if you're reporting directly to the CEO, then this is a big deal. But also it's kind of makes sense. Apple needs AI. Everyone in the computer industry needs AI. Someone said, why would Google let this guy go? They don't have a choice. He's not a slave. He gets to go where he wants to go. And Apple would have thrown just loads of money at him. Plus, maybe he wanted the challenge. Maybe he wanted to work for a different company. Who knows? We got two giveaways on this evening's show. Once again, we're giving away a set of the covered. Damn it, I can't get it right. The covered Universal Lens Cap from the nice folks at KUVRDcameras.com, KUVRD cameras.com. Check that out. And thanks to the nice folks at Softorino, we're giving away a copy of iRingg. Next week's show, we'll do a review of iRingg. But the short version is, it's the simplest ringtone creator I've ever used. It's really, really fun and easy to use. And in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about easy ways to screw up a photo. We've been talking for a while now on how to take photos better. Let's talk about some ways what you do to screw things up. And we'll use our guinea pig over here for that. Well, you screw up a lot of photos, so.
Okay.
I get away with such crap on there.
You do. You have to make mistakes to learn.
A perfect example of my weird bad luck, minor bad luck happened with you and I last week. We went over to the big city, to Vancouver. For those of you who don't know, we live in a little place called Sunshine Coast, a town called Gibsons. Only got 6,000 people in it. But a 40-minute ferry ride away is the city of Vancouver. So we went over on the ferry, do a Costco run. That's what you do when you live in a small town. You go to the big city and buy shit. And before we went to Costco, we had to gather our strength. So we went to a pub, Craft Brewery down, if you're familiar with Vancouver, down in the Falls Creek area. And you don't know I did this. So we walk into this place, and it's a brew pub, and they got 100 taps. Great, 100 different kinds of beer. Fantastic. But they've also got probably 30 TV screens up high in the walls. All 30 TV screens are showing the same thing. The Toronto Blue Jays versus the New York Yankees game. It was the opening weekend of the baseball season. And everyone who knows me knows two things. One, I love the New York Yankees, which is why I'm wearing my New York Yankees sweater, which I got at Yankee Stadium. And 2, I hate the Toronto Blue Jays. No, I'm sorry. That's wrong. I hate everything involved in Toronto. All of it. Every single person in it. Every single object in it. All of it. I hate it. So I love watching the Yankees, and I love watching the Yankees beat Toronto. So I'm sit. So the host just sits us down, and she, where do you want to sit? And I'm like, I want to sit here, and I want to have my beautiful wife sitting there, so I can look at my beautiful wife, but I can also sneak a peek up to the monitor to watch the baseball game. So when she asks me a question, I can act pensive and go, as I watch the baseball
Or pretend you're listening like
pretend
you
I'm
do.
listening. Sit down, bartender comes over, gives us the menus, great, and I'll look up, and as I look up, this monitor right here, the only one I can see clearly, the other ones are over there, or they're against that back wall, or the way down there. The only monitor I can see clearly, so there's all, again, they're all 30 monitors are showing the same thing. This monitor right here changes the Houston Astros game. What the hell? I sat here specifically to watch the Blue Jays game, and that monitor, it wasn't like someone asked them to change the blue. We weren't sitting with anybody. There was no one around us. It was like someone said, hey, bartender, would you mind putting the Houston Astros game on?
Was me.
It just switched.
I wanted your undivided attention.
It just switched. I'm like, are you kidding me?
I know.
Are you kidding me? The one screen I can see, I'm not going to be able to watch the Blue Jays game. That was just like, this is just the way my shitty-ass luck works.
I knew you were going to say that.
We went to, this is our second time, went to Costco. I've got my own Costco card now. I never had a Costco card before. Never went to Costco before. Because I didn't need 7 pounds of peanut butter. But I've always lived in places where there was no place I could put 48 rolls of toilet paper.
There isn't here either.
Fair point. Yeah, the toilet paper is actually in Rory's room.
No, it's not anymore. I've managed to squish it into places.
But Costco was really kind of a cool, weird place because of the massive amount of stuff, but a fairly narrow variety of it.
They don't go overboard. They're
They
pretty
really don't.
fussy about what they buy.
They don't have a lot of different things. They just have a lot of that one thing. Like I got the seasoning things that you buy in your local supermarket with pepper and cayenne and paprika. You put that big and you shake them. I got a bottle of turmeric, which I never use, but it was on sale.
You did?
A huge bottle of Italian seasoning, just gigantic jugs of stuff. We got, I think we got like 20 liters of olive oil. It was just stupid. It just filled up the truck. It was ridiculous. And they have these giant carts that, as everyone knows, the bigger the cart is at a supermarket, the more they're encouraging you to buy things. That's why they make the big carts. So the Costco carts, if you've never been to Costco, are just freaking massive. And so you put in $500 worth of groceries. Oddly enough, their meat is not very fresh.
It's not.
Almost all their meat at Costco, with the 2 times you've been there, I don't know about times you've been there, has always been the best before date is tomorrow. You know, like everything you've got to cook immediately. So you can't buy massive amounts of meat.
No, unless you freeze it.
Unless you freeze it. We don't
Bring
have
it
a
straight
freezer.
back and freeze it.
So why do you like going to Costco? Just the cost savings?
Oh, I started doing it when we used to take in international students and we needed lots of food.
Oh, I see. Okay. And
Yeah,
with
that's why I had an executive membership.
But you lived in a house, too. So you had
And we
place to
lived
put
in a
stuff.
house.
Yeah, we don't have a lot of places to put things here.
No. But it's true. Mo says that we could make furniture out of our toilet paper.
That's right.
Could make you a lazy boy.
And they have weird things on sale, too. I mean, the electronics just seems odd. I don't know why I think of it as being odd, but it seems odd to go to Costco and buy a 70-inch TV. You know what I mean?
They've always had all the electronics there. They sell all kinds of stuff.
One thing I tell folks about cameras is keep an eye on the camera deals they have because they have good prices. But when people have asked me about it, I've always noticed the camera itself is like a 2-year-old camera. They rarely have the latest model at those discounts.
Okay.
You know, I've gotten emails from people all the time. I saw this camera at Costco. It's $400 off the regular price. Is this a good camera? And I look up the camera and you find it was released 2 years ago. It's probably still a good camera for a beginner anyway,
Mm-hmm.
at a good price point. But don't think you're getting the latest and greatest technology. Make sure you know. And it's real easy when you're in Costco. Just look up the when it comes to cameras anyway, dpreview.com, great website. Go there, put in the name of the camera that you're looking at, and it will tell you when it was released. And so you can tell that the camera's 2 years old or 3 years old, whatever it might be.
Okay.
And while that doesn't make a great deal of difference, it does from the point of view of the electronics inside it are 2 years old, and in camera technology, 2 years is like 10 years.
Oh.
So your sensor won't be as big or as powerful. The ISO won't be as wide-ranging. Those kinds of things. So it's not a huge thing if you get a really good deal on it, but you should know at least that that camera is not as brand new as it seems coming out of the box. The technology of that camera might be 2 or 3 years old, so you have to worry about that. You know, guys are saying, I swear by DP Review. DP Review is great. It's for cameras, for unbiased, especially technical information. dpreview.com is my go-to place for camera stuff. Their reviews are really good, and I always say that I know their reviews are really good because they agree with what I think.
Well, it's always a good review.
Well, it's if I know about the thing that they're reviewing, like my D600, I read the review on the D600, and what they said were the good and bad points are exactly what I would have said are the good and bad points. So whether and same with the other cameras I've owned, the Olympus M1 and any the Nikon D50, their reviews are always in sync with what I know. So if the reviews are in sync with what I know, then I'm going to assume, hopefully fairly, that their reviews of products I don't know are just as good. It's one of the reasons why I have such a problem with Consumer Reports. Consumer Reports has done some terrible reviews of Apple products over the years, where they've just gotten things wrong, just dead things I know aren't true. It's not even a matter of opinion; it's a matter of fact. They get facts wrong, and so that always worries me. Is okay if they're getting that stuff wrong, stuff I know about wrong. What are they getting wrong that I don't know about? That's always a concern. So everything I read in Consumer Reports, I take with a grain of salt.
It's almost like you have to be an educated reader of reviews, so you know that the review is. You know what I mean?
Yep. MacBan rightly says Consumer Reports sucks ass for anything tech related. I agree. They've got a lot of their tech stuff is not good, but he said tech related. If that's the case, how do we know the reviews of dishwashers are good or cars or those kind of things? So yeah, everything I read in Consumer Reports is I'm kind of iffy at. I'll read their stuff and take their recommendations with a grain of salt, but I'll also look for other reviews of things too. So something to think about. Later on in the show, in our starting point photography segment, we're going to talk about how to screw up your photos. It's easy. It's so simple. There's a few things that if you remember, the few things that you screw up on a regular basis, that if you remember not to do them, your photos will get better. We'll talk about that on the starting point photography segment. As always, send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. We love getting emails from you guys, either live during the show or later on in the week. And then later on, we're going to talk to our good friend, or after this break, we're going to talk to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining me here this Wednesday evening. I am Shawn King. This is Your Mac Life. Joined on our phone now by our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic.
I can tell from the background noise you're in a bar, so of course you're doing fantastic.
Yes, I am.
Big news. There's a couple of big news items this week. We'll jump right into them. First of all, Apple has hired a new vice president of artificial intelligence. What were your thoughts when you read this news?
You know, when Apple hired, now to back up for a bit, he was the head of search and artificial intelligence for Google.
Yes.
So, I mean, this is a huge, huge hire.
Agreed.
For Apple, especially if they want to make Siri better. And the part of the whole note from Tim Cook that stood out to me was the fact that this guy agreed with Apple's stance on privacy.
Yeah.
Now, whether he does or not is, you know, that can be argued. Well, of course, he's going to say that because he's going to work for Apple and he knows Apple's stance.
Of course.
But I would suggest that a lot of the people that work in this field probably don't agree with a Google and Facebook type of a model,
yeah,
as much as they do with an Apple model, where things that you ask and things that you surf and things that you do are monetized in a way that the average consumer probably doesn't know, but wouldn't like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So here you have a guy that's in charge of artificial intelligence coming to Apple, that is a company that is very secure, that has double encryption going both ways, you know, on all kinds of different things, from Siri to iMessage to everything else that you do. And it seems like a great fit. I mean, if there's anybody that can make Siri what we want it to make, I think it has to be this guy.
The assumption is that that's exactly what this guy is going to be doing, Siri being Apple's basis for AI. I think it's almost universally acknowledged that Siri is not as good as what we certainly want it to be in any number of ways. Is the issue that this guy is trying to solve just a technological one, do you think? Or is it an issue of the Apple culture not allowing Siri to become what Siri wants to become?
Well, no. Now, to be clear, this guy isn't in charge of Siri. He is in charge of machine learning.
Yes.
Which is Siri, but it's also a lot more than Siri.
Yeah.
So I think that he can do a lot to help Apple's overall market going into artificial intelligence,
Yeah.
which is exactly what machine learning is.
Yes.
I mean, we want Siri to do a lot more than what it does. I don't think that the people that have been in charge of Siri have been able to meet what we wanted to do. In the article that I wrote a few weeks ago about, you know, Siri works wonderful in some situations,
yeah,
like CarPlay, but that's because it's so limited. We know what the limitations of artificial intelligence are.
Yeah.
And when we use artificial intelligence in a way that we know it's going to work, then it works.
Yeah.
But when we don't know what those limitations are, all of a sudden it breaks down. And that's where I'm hoping that he can fix it.
I don't think there's that much of a cultural shift that Apple needs to do with regards to AI or Siri. I don't think this guy is going to push Apple in another direction from the point of view of privacy and data security
Absolutely
and those
not.
kinds of things. That is pretty rock solid. We saw last week the Steve Jobs quote from the All Things D conference in 2010. I think that carries forward with Apple all the way up until now. What Apple wants is smart people that can help them figure out how to do what they want to do, but also keep user privacy in the forefront of the discussion and never to lose that thing. I think Tim Cook has said it. Things would be so much easier for us if we acted like Google.
Well, absolutely. It absolutely would. I mean, if Apple sold data like Facebook does, then things would be a whole lot easier and a lot more profitable for Apple than what it is right now.
Yeah.
But that fundamentally is not the company that Apple is.
Yeah.
And I think, when we look at Apple as a company, we may not know we're thankful for their stance, but we are.
Yeah.
When you hear about malware on Android and you hear about all of the things that are going on with Facebook, and then you look at your iPhone and say, okay, my apps are safe.
Yep.
I know that. Do things slip by with Apple as far as that stuff goes? Yeah, absolutely they do. And of course they're going to. Apps slip by and they do funky things and you can get them to do strange things. But the fact is Apple's core policy is privacy. So that guy knew this coming in.
Yep.
You can bet that. I mean, he wasn't hired by an engineer. He was hired by Tim Cook.
That's right. Yeah.
And Tim and him would have had conversations about privacy. And he bought in. He knows it.
Yep.
So the fundamentals of machine learning and Siri and Apple are not going to change.
Mosquito makes an interesting point in the IRC chat room. He says it kind of depends on the degree to which Ive can overrule the new guy's decisions. I don't think these two guys were even going to have anything to do with each other. It seems like this new hire is, as someone pointed out, the back-end tech guy. Dave D says, I expect Ive will leave him alone. He sounds like a back-end tech guy. I don't think the two are going to have any dealings with each other unless something that the back-end tech guy wants to do affects the user interface.
No, they're exactly right. This is the guy that is going to program the machine learning to answer the proper questions. And this is really simplified, obviously, but he's going to be the guy when maybe we'll have complex questions with Siri, like, Siri, play Black Sabbath, turn the volume to 80%.
Yeah.
And, have that type of stuff. Or Siri, now, this is really simple stuff, obviously, but Siri, add eggs, bacon, and bread to my groceries list.
Yep.
Right now you would have to say, hey, Siri, add eggs to my groceries list. Hey, Siri, add bacon. I mean, this is the type of stuff that he will be working on.
Yep.
And it's up between Johnny and Craig Federighi to implement how this is going to look and act on iOS and the Mac.
Agreed.
So, I mean, he's the back. I mean, for lack of a better term, this guy is a scientist.
Yes.
I mean, he's not just a guy that Apple hired that is going to, look at improving Siri.
Yep.
This guy is a scientist. He's a smart guy.
Yep. That's right. It's going to be interesting, as always, to see where this leads Apple. Speaking of where Apple is going to be leading or pushing things forward, there's the very common rumor. We've been talking about this rumor for probably at least 5 years now that Apple is going to be creating its own chips for their Mac desktop and laptop line. That's a no-brainer. I think Apple's signaled that they're going to be doing that for years and years now. It's why they've amassed so much chip technology brains in the company, as is shown by the chips in the iPhone, in the iPad, even in the AirPods. And they're taking that experience, and the rumor is, in the very near future, going to be doing that with the MacBooks with the MacBook Airs and the Pros and
Hi,
the
Bubby.
iMac and the iMac Pro and all that kind of stuff. Is this a good thing for Apple?
Well, I'll say yes, but I have some caveats.
Yeah.
Yes, because look at everything that Apple has done with its own chips on the iPhone. And if you have never used an Android tablet or Android phone, just try and use it, and you will get frustrated very quickly with how slow it responds to everything you do. And that is chip technology right there.
Yep.
So if you look at what Apple could do for the Mac, I mean, it seems pretty big, but the caveat in there is the transition. I mean, when Apple moved to Intel for its chips away from Motorola, that was a big move, but everybody jumped on board because, okay, Apple is going to move to Intel. This will be much easier for us to move. And that type of transition is very tough. Any type of transition is very tough.
Yeah.
This one will be very tough as well, even for Apple. But the fact that they sell so many computers and so many iPhones, and, it'll all factor into how companies will, move their products over. And, to be honest, do companies really want to move over to a different chip again? Maybe not.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, you can see the folks at Adobe and Microsoft in particular rolling their eyes because they've only just gotten all of their stuff ported to 64-bit Mac OS. So you got to believe that the transition for those guys is either going to be something that's unwanted or certainly as slow as it was the last time they transitioned. I think the other issue, too, is that this transition is going to be even more significant than the Intel switch. Like you said, a lot of those companies already had that Intel code based off their Windows software, so it was an easier port. Not that it was an easy port, but it was easier than what this is going to be. This could be it could be a complete nightmare. It could be smooth as butter. We don't know. And anyone who claims to know one or the other is full of shit, Jason Snell.
Well, Jason was around for a lot of this, and Jason certainly talked to a lot of developers about moving to Intel. I know this because I was there at the time, and I talked to some of the same developers at the same time that Jason did.
Yep.
But I think that there's a lot that we just don't know, and a lot that Apple doesn't know. And none of these transitions are going to be easy. I mean, somebody brought up, and I don't know where it was, but is there going to be a layer? Remember when they transitioned from Motorola to Intel, there was a layer where you could run Motorola apps on Intel. It would be slower. I don't even know what that was called. I forget now.
Rosetta.
So, you could run these apps. They were slower, but they would work until the developers moved them over. Is there going to be that? Are we going to give developers enough time? And if we do that, that means they have to pre-announce it. And, there's a lot of different things that are going to go into this. And I don't know.
Yep.
I have to think that it would be successful because Apple would make sure that its chips are so fast. And let's face it, Intel has not been doing a great job lately.
That's right. Yeah, and we've said this on many occasions in the past. This is Intel's own fault. If they lose Apple's business, it's through no fault of Apple's. It's through Intel not being able to deliver the products that Apple wants and needs in a timely enough fashion. I think one of the biggest stumbling blocks for Apple when it comes to the Macs is Intel delivering fast enough chips.
And let's be clear, this is not just the latest chip.
Yep.
This is several generations of chips
Yep.
old that Intel has not been able to deliver. And then, of course, you have all of this hacking stuff on top of
Yep.
everything else that happened. And to date, there has not been any problems with the Apple-made chips.
Yep.
You know, and I mean, we're at what, A11 now?
Yep.
So, you know, Apple has the technology to make the world's first bionic man.
That may be a bit of a step, maybe a bit of a leap, but it's what?
Don't you remember that?
Of course I do. It was a great
They have
line.
the technology.
That's right. We can
to
rebuild
make
him.
The world's first. We can rebuild him.
The problem I have with Jason's article, he says, this is news analysis. Why the next Mac processor transition won't be like the last two. You have no idea. He has no clue. And Macworld says Apple-made processors could make the MacBooks exciting again. So what they're saying is the MacBooks aren't exciting now.
Yeah,
I mean, come on.
Look, I give Jason more credit than what I give Macworld.
Yep.
Because Jason he's probably the only one at Macworld that has seen a transition.
Yeah, really.
And he's only writing this as a guest columnist, but still, he is the only one there that has seen a transition.
Yep.
So I'm sure that Jason has some thoughts, and I'm sure that Apple, after going through a transition like this, is more experienced than what they were before.
Sure.
They made some mistakes. They're going to do things a little bit differently this time, but there's still some trepidation for me in holy shit.
Absolutely.
I hope everybody comes over.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No kidding.
You know.
I mean, there's going to be, just like previous transitions, there's going to be that in between time where everyone's going to be freaking out that this doesn't work, that doesn't work. The thing with me though is, we have to know by June 4th. Apple has to announce this at WWDC this June.
No, I don't know about that.
If they want this to happen inside the next 2 years, WWDC is the best time to announce it.
Well, WWDC is the best time to announce it, but there's a couple of things that we have to keep in mind here. One, we don't know the timetable.
Sure.
For sure. So, I mean, if it's going to happen this year, that to me seems pretty aggressive.
No, I don't think the transition is going to happen this year. I don't think the transition is going to happen for 2 more years.
No, I know. You're saying the announcement is going to happen.
Yeah.
But still, I think that's aggressive.
You think?
Yeah, well, you know, because they just put out, you know, the iMac Pro.
Yep.
They've talked about the Mac Pro. They've done all of these things that, you know, unless the Mac Pro is going to be an Apple-made machine.
Yeah.
And remember when Jobs was on stage when they announced the Intel transition and said, yeah, we've had a parallel project with iMacs on Intel, and this is an iMac on Intel machine right here.
Yep.
You know, I mean, that stunned the crowd.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
It absolutely stunned everybody. And they're going to need to do something like that to say, oh, yeah, this new Mac Pro that we were talking about, yeah, here's what it is, and it's running our own chip. You know, that's the kind of thing that's going to freak people out.
I think this is a good move for Apple. I think this is a necessary, logical move for Apple. Like everyone with half a brain, I'm a little worried about it, but I don't think they're going to mismanage it. I think they're going to handle it well. They've got the experience of the previous transitions that they've done. It's going to be interesting to see how developers jump on board this. What are the advantages for developers to do this will be the big question they'll be asking.
the advantage is clear. You either get on board or you're toast.
True, exactly. That's right.
I mean, that's the advantage. But they also have the experience of 11 generations of the iOS chips that are the fastest that you can get. So developers are going to need to see how fast this chip can run their applications.
Yep.
And I hope that Apple doesn't do like the 10 on 10, where, our app is so much faster and they have 10 developers come up and everybody in the audience falls asleep
Yep.
while they're doing it. But still, that was good information to have, that developers could run things faster.
Yeah.
A big question from a consumer standpoint, I think, has to come. Like, I open up my MacBook Pro 15-inch right now. I open up Mail. I open up Safari. How much faster can things go?
Yeah, exactly.
At some point it comes to your internet connection. There are bottlenecks. There are always going to be bottlenecks. And at what point do the bottlenecks kind of take over?
I think what Apple needs to do is have the bottleneck be the human being, that we can't work as fast as the computer. If that's the case, then Apple's in good stead. If the bottleneck is the computer, then they could be in trouble.
But most of the things that we do these days are on the web.
Yep.
We stream, we get email, we do social media, we browse the web. Everything has to do with the internet. So everybody's bottleneck is going to be different.
Yep.
And that's a flaw. I mean, it's like the new file system that they had. Yes, it copies faster. It does things faster. But people don't do that all day, every day. They do normal things. And if the apps aren't available for a Mac, then the average person is going to move on.
Yeah, that's right.
And that's what they need to worry about.
I think this is something that Apple's going to at least, maybe if not announce, but hint at WWDC. If the time frame is 2020, this is a perfect time to do it, to tell people, hey, in 2 years this is what we're going to do. Whenever they make the announcement, what that is going to do to their sales of the desktop line is going to be very, very interesting to see. Apple sells about 5 million Macintoshes each quarter now. Will that decrease or increase? Will people start hoarding Macs that are based on Intel? We're not going to know. There's all kinds of questions that need to be answered by this. But it's also kind of exciting. It also gets you jazzed up for whatever Apple's going to do next. It's fun for me as a pundit and technology kind of guy to talk with this with people like you and other people. I don't know how much fun it's going to be for developers. I'll be talking to them over the next few days. But from a user perspective right now, nothing's changed. Don't anyone freak out about your computer's not going to work or things aren't going to happen the way you expect them to, because none of that is true.
No, absolutely not. I mean, there's no reason for anybody that is using a computer right now to think any differently than what they do yesterday what they did yesterday.
That's right.
That's just the way that it's going to go.
Let's move on to a story that was posted on The Loop this week. Gruber, Apple Pay, and a dark pattern. Let's talk about Apple Pay in general. I found this really interesting because, while I don't have very much money, when I do spend money, Apple Pay is kind of fun for me both on the iPhone with Touch, but also on the iPhone with Face ID. It's very funny to me when I do it, and the sales agent, the cashier, looks at me and goes, "What the hell did you just do? There's no credit card. How did you pay for this?" It kind of freaks them out, which means that from the back end, sales staff aren't being trained very well by their company as to what this stuff is. And I think it also means that Apple isn't doing the greatest job in informing consumers about the advantages of Apple Pay. I still hear people say that they're afraid to use Apple Pay. What are your thoughts on it?
All right. So I think Apple is doing. Okay, so let me back up from there and say, I think the best commercials that Apple makes are the ones that actually show what the technology can do.
Yes.
That's why the Think Different campaign was so great. That's why the Mac versus PC campaign was so great. And I think that they miss out on a lot of that these days with some of the campaigns that they have.
Yeah.
The Apple Pay campaign, the 4 videos that Dave Mark posted today,
Yes.
I think were very, very good. I thought those were very good. So I think Apple is doing everything that it can right now based on those commercials and a couple of others to inform people about Apple Pay. That Wall Street Journal article was just absolute shit.
It really was garbage.
I mean, they were looking, you can tell they were looking for something to nail Apple with, and they tried to nail them with a badge.
Yep.
You know, a one red badge that they tried to nail them with. And the one thing that I will say that they got right was it doesn't make sense how you actually cancel Apple Pay because you have to go to enroll to cancel.
Yeah.
So that okay, I'll give you that. That was one paragraph. The rest of the article was absolute shit.
Yep.
And I saw it the night before, and I read through it and thought, oh, what's going on? And I thought, well, no, that's not true.
Yep.
And that's not true. And it was so bad that I didn't even post it. And then I saw that Gruber posted about it, and I thought, yeah, you're exactly right.
Yep.
I mean, this is it. And Apple declined to comment, and Gruber said because they were stifling their laughter.
Exactly.
No, it's because they were pissing themselves laughing is what it was.
Yep, that's right.
So, but we always have to bring this back to the average consumer. And if the average consumer doesn't know how to get rid of that little red badge, then, okay, it could be a little bit of a problem. I think the analysts that they interviewed certainly went way overboard in saying, you know, the stuff that they said
Yep.
about it. But, you know, that's the type of story that you get these days.
Yeah, and unfortunately, you know, we've talked about this ad infinitum. There's no penalty for them doing these kinds of stories. It just I think first time I saw it was on Twitter. The comment that even though payment analysts say the service is faster and more secure, it looked like the Wall Street Journal just went out and found some random guy in the street, a 29-year-old
Right.
professional comedian who prefers to use his credit card. Why is his opinion carrying any weight in the Wall Street fucking Journal?
Yeah.
It's just some
Exactly.
schmo off the street.
Now, you and I and the people listening to your show right now probably use Apple Pay and really enjoy using it when you can. I mean, not everybody accepts it, but I mean, whenever I can use it, yeah, I just pop it up on my watch, actually, and I use it. So I think it's great.
There are some issues with Apple Pay. I mean, it's not the perfect system, but when
What issues?
Well, the issue with that Gruber mentioned that I've had with my wife of setting up Apple Pay and not wanting to set up Apple Pay. Gruber said in his post that this does annoy people who, for whatever reason, don't want to set up Apple Pay. So there's that little red dot in the settings thing.
The issue is that you don't trust him. That's what you're saying. You don't trust him. You got to trust him. Tim needs his cookies.
What? What are you babbling about? Tim needs his cookies.
Tim needs his cookies.
But most of the issues are minor. Most of the issues I find with people are their lack of understanding of what Apple Pay is. I mean, that's a big point that I see from people when they ask me about it, or when I tell them about it, they're like, really? That doesn't work. That can't work that way. There was some asshat in the forums on loopinsight.com said, I don't use Apple Pay, but it's not as fast or as easy as a credit card. Shut up!
Yeah, no, it's actually faster and easier, and it's great.
And if you've never used it, shut up!
Yeah. I don't understand people, but that's nothing new.
Yeah, no kidding. Folks, been talking to Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com. When's the next Dalrymple report going up?
Monday, I think.
Monday? All right, folks, look for that. The Dalrymple report is available on the iTunes store. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, Shawn.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks very much, as always, to our good friend Jim Dalrymple for joining us here on the show. When we come back from this very, very important message, we're going to talk about how to screw up your photos in our starting point photography segment. All that and much more coming up right after this break. This is Your Mac Life.
Hello, my name is Melissa King. I'm Your Mac Life's official spokes Australian. As Shawn begins his 25th year of broadcasting on the internet, he has asked me to say a few words to you all. Send money. What? Why not? More? Okay. When you listen to Your Mac Life, you'll notice there are no ads, no commercial breaks, no 5-minute ad reads for products you've already bought or have no interest in buying. That's because Your Mac Life is entirely listener-supported, and not even listener-supported via a paywall or a subscription service. It's simple. If you like Your Mac Life, you can pay for it. If you don't want to pay for it, you don't have to. You can still listen. But we'd really like it if you did. On the Your Mac Life homepage at yourmaclifeshow.com, on the top left, there is a subscribe to YML box. You can send any amount you'd like each month automatically from your credit card or PayPal account. It's set for $2, $5, $10 or $15, but you can set it for any amount by clicking the donate button. The best part is you'll barely notice it. It's $2, but it makes a huge difference to us here at Your Mac Life. It means we can pay for website hosting, internet access, new computers and software to run the show on, and so much more. So, if you like Your Mac Life, please subscribe. $2 will make a tiny dent in your wallet, but when enough people subscribe, it makes a huge difference to Your Mac Life. I'm Melissa King. Thank you.
Welcome back to Your Mac Life. Thank you guys very much for joining us here this Wednesday evening, or if you so choose, by being tuned into the archive of the show. In our starting point photography segment, I've always been talking about how to make your photos better, how to take a better picture. And someone asked me something yesterday, the day before, about screwing photos up. I thought, what an interesting thing to talk about. Talk about the ways we screw photos up and maybe how to fix them. The first way that most of us screw photos up is via blur. Unless it's intentional blur, we're going to ignore that. Any camera movement while you're pushing the shutter can introduce blur in your shot. So one of the things I see a lot when I'm out on a photo walk with people is them, for whatever reason in their head, thinking they need to keep up with everybody. And so they're walking quickly, or they're walking not at a speed that's comfortable for them. They're afraid of losing the group and things like that. And they see something pretty and they go, click, and walk away. And that photo's going to be blurry. Or a photo that you take while you're actually moving. You walk down the street, or you're on a boat, or things like that, and you take a picture. A lot of times those photos are going to be blurry. And blurry is death to a good photo. Blurry is something that we all see automatically, and whether the photo can be perfectly composed, perfectly exposed, beautiful colors, beautiful composition, but if it's blurry, your picture is shit. There's just no way around it. Especially when it comes to people or things with eyes. Every time we look at a human being and look in their eyes are clear. Their eyes are in focus. So when you take a picture and the eyes of the thing, the person, the baby, the cat, whatever it is, isn't in focus, even subconsciously, it's a bad photo. You know it's a bad photo. So along with that, one of the ways we screw up photos, and this is where I'm using my beautiful wife as a guinea pig. She's so enticing, isn't she? Is not knowing where your focus point is when you point your camera. And this is true whether it's an iPhone or a point and shoot or DSLR or a mirrorless camera. On the iPhone, for example, the focus point can be wherever you want to tap on it. So you tap on the screen and that little yellow square will pop up, and that's your focus point. So keep that in mind when you're using the iPhone. You can tell the iPhone what to focus on. You don't have to guess at it. You can just tap it. So if you're taking a picture of someone's face, just tap on one of their eyes on the iPhone screen, and the iPhone will focus on those eyes. In your viewfinder of a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, when you half press the shutter, you should hear a little beep and see some indication of where the camera is going to focus. Now, if you're set on auto, quite often you'll see multiple focus points. If you're set on any other setting, you'll probably just see one focus point. And it might be in the center. It might be off to the left. That's right. It might be off to the right. It might be down below, whatever. But take a barest moment to see where that focus point is. And if it's not on the thing that you want to be in focus, you got to move it. You got to move it by either physically moving the camera so the focus point is on that spot, or tapping on your screen or using your control button to move the focus point. Poor Melissa has taken dozens of really well-composed shots, but because you forget to look for that focus point, even though it's a green, when you half press the camera on the Olympus M1, the screen gives a little bit of a flash and there's a green square that pops up. You'll sometimes either forget about the green square or ignore the green square, not knowing what it is. There was one great shot. We were out walking in the woods, and you took a picture of Rory. Really nice shot of Rory, the trees behind him. And the trees perfectly in focus. Rory, not so much.
I meant to do that.
You meant to do that, exactly. And the reason why was because the focus point was on the background, was on the trees. And it's a simple matter on that camera to use it's called a D-pad, just like on a game controller. Simple matter of just tapping the D-pad to the left or right or up or down, wherever you need to be, to have that focus point be in the center. That's one of the downsides of the Olympus M1. Even when you're not focusing on something, any touching of the D-pad can move the focus point. On my D600, when I set my focus point, it stays there until I move it.
Oh.
It's until I focus and then move it around. It doesn't move around just by touching the camera. So that's a downside of the M1. So you have to constantly be checking with the M1 where your green focus point is. So keep that in mind whenever you're shooting. Just take a real quick look on the iPhone. Just tap on the screen. It'll focus there. In a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, look for that focus point and make sure that's on the thing that you want in focus, whether it's the eyes or the trees or the flower or whatever it might be. That'll make things so much easier for you when you go to take good shots. So keep an eye on the focus point of your camera. Another thing that's hard for a lot of folks to comprehend is seeing the light. We screw up photos by not seeing the light. One of the things is our eyes are really good at ignoring light. So I can look at someone and see that their face is in shadow. There's a shadow of a building cutting across their face. When I'm looking at them and talking to them, that doesn't bother me. We're just sitting there having a conversation. I don't notice that half their face is in shadow.
Mm-hmm.
Or we're sitting at the beach, and you're sitting with the sun over to your side, and you have this bright light here on the left side of your face, and your right side is in shadow. I don't care. When I'm just sitting on the beach, I'm just looking at you in the bikini. I don't care about the shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And that carries over when we go to take photos. We see this person. We see whatever we like about this person, and we want to take a picture. Click. And then you get the picture. You look at the picture on the back, and there's this shadow going across the face. Some people don't even notice the shadow even when they have taken the photo. So you've got to learn to see light and move to get better light. So, for example, if someone is in shadow or in bright sunlight and shadow on the other side of their face, simply have them turn into the sun or turn the other way. So their whole face is in either sunlight or in shadow. Or have them move. If the shadow of a building is across their face, just ask them to take half a step left or right to get full light or full shadow. And then obviously adjust for those shots. But it's something that you've got to think about.
You do. Yeah.
You've got to, rather than just really not visualize, but see that person's face, you have to think about that person's face.
Mm-hmm.
Think about where the light is. Think about the composition of the shot, what's behind the person. That brings up the next thing. I see so many photos of people who didn't think about their background. And there's a branch going through someone's head, or a telephone pole sticking up, or the background is distracting in some way, shape, or form. We think that the only thing that matters is the foreground, but the background can make or break a shot too.
It really does, yes.
So what I always tell beginners is to, before they push the shutter button, you can half press to get the focus, to see where your focus point is, but just before you push it the other way, just look behind the person. I look in all four corners of my shot to see if there's a telephone wire going through it, or a stray post, or those sorts of things. And then I look behind the person's head. It just takes half a second. There's a little mental checklist I go through before I take a photo, especially of portraits, because portraits, it's the easiest way to do it. I see the face. I think, what's the lighting? What's the background? What's in the corners? Take the picture. So that's one of the things that you can really quickly practice. And once you get to practice it becomes automatic and you do it easily. One of the issues I see, I would say at least 50% of all beginner photos is two things. One of the things I do all the time, and one of the things beginners do all the time. And the thing that beginners do all the time is having your horizon dead center of your photo. We talked about this about Jim's photo on last week. There's that horizon line, whether it's the actual horizon line or whether it's a line going through your photo of a fence,
or
street,
whatever.
or anything along those lines. For some reason, our human mind likes symmetry, but in photography, symmetry doesn't always work very well, especially with that line that cuts your image in two. And it's a really, really simple solution. We talked about this before. It's a simple matter of tilting your camera up a little bit or down a little bit. Get more sky or more ground. Your photo should never have as much sky as it does ground. It should never be equal. The same amount of sky is the same amount of ground, or the same amount of water. Always have more of one or the other. And just look at your scene and think which is more interesting. If you've got a flat, boring, it's raining here now, so the sky is just crap here. If I was taking photos, I wouldn't have any sky in my photo. I tilt my camera down or angle myself so there will be no sky, because the sky is just a white, sodden mess here. If you are standing in a grass field, there's nothing interesting about the grass, then you tilt your camera up and maybe get some blue sky. So think about that as well. Your horizon line, just tilt your camera up or tilt your camera down and take more sky or more ground. The other thing that I see beginners do, and I do all the time, is not only is would your horizon be dead center, it's tilted. And for me, there's this weird ass thing. My eyes are on crooked. I swear to God, my right eye, my shooting eye, is up higher than my other eye. And I say this because every single photo I take, when I think the horizon is straight, I take the photo, I bring it into Photoshop, and it's 4 degrees off.
Mm-hmm.
Every single photo I take is 4 degrees off. And at first, I thought it was the camera when I was using my Nikon D50. But then I got another camera, still off. Got the iPhone, still off.
We're not all built symmetrically.
I did not know this. I thought everyone's eyes were on the same level. But for me, that's kind of funny. And I try to make a conscious effort just to tilt the other way now. But in Lightroom, it's easy to fix. It's not that big a deal. And in a lot of cameras, the iPhone included, you can get a level in them. My Nikon D50,
Right.
D600, I can turn on the level. So I'll know not only the level in the vertical plane, but also level in the horizontal plane. Yeah, horizontal plane.
Oh.
So it'll tell me if my lens is tilted down or tilted up or tilted left or tilted right. Not every camera has that, but if yours does, read the manual. You can always turn it on. But it is a fairly easy fix in most software. Most software will allow you. The iPhone does it automatically. You click on the crop on the iPhone, and you'll see your pictures go boop, and just tilt a little bit. It's not perfect, so don't rely on it without question. Because sometimes a Lightroom, for example, will see a different line in my photo than I saw and make it even more under shape. But it's real easy to grab the manual slider in Lightroom to get it to where I want it to be. But yeah, keep that in mind. Keep that. You can screw the shot up easily. And again, a lot of this stuff is subconscious, that you don't notice these things. You just know it's a bad photo. I could ask you why it's a bad photo. Most beginners couldn't tell me why it's a bad photo. They do know it's a bad photo, though. Out of focus, automatic. That's easy to tell. But little things like a bad background, a distracting background, poor composition. One of the worst things people will do to screw up a photo is they'll have a person standing in front of an object, a tree or a statue, and you're 40 feet away. Why are you 40 feet away? Why are you taking this picture of this person if you're going to be 40 feet away? That's kind of pointless. Get as close as you can to the person and the subject. Now, if it's a giant tree, then it's okay to have the person be this size. If you're getting the whole tree. If it's just a giant tree trunk, then don't do that. Get closer to the person. We know the tree goes up. You don't have to take a whole picture of the entire tree with your human subject be this size, unless for some reason that tree is interesting. It's the world's largest Douglas fir or something like that, and you want this little person to scale. But for the most part, get in close. The person's going to be more interesting than the tree. So get in as close as you possibly can. Don't take those pictures where you see there's 3 or 4 family members and they're standing in front of a bridge that's a nondescript bridge, but you're standing 10 feet back. Get up close to everything. Get as close as you can. It's called fill the frame. Whatever you think's important in the image, fill the frame with that image. Get as much of that image as you can in the frame. Dave D says, welcome to the club. Every picture I took this weekend was tilted. Yeah, that happens to me all the time. Every single shot. In general, another way to screw up a photo is using the flash.
Oh.
Almost always the native flash, the built-in flash on your DSLR or even the flash on the iPhone. I know Apple touts how great the flash is in the iPhone, but I try to tell people don't use the flash. One of the issues you were always going to have is the flash on your pop-up flash on your DSLR or on the iPhone. Because the flash is so close to the lens, it tends to be very direct light forward and very direct light back, and it's ugly light. Apple has shown pictures of good flash, but try to avoid using the flash whenever you possibly can. That's why you'll see photographers will have that off-camera flash they can hold over here, because light bouncing from a different angle is much better than light bouncing straight into the person's face and then straight back at you. That's why you have that bright, splotchy glare. MacMan says, one of the best things I bought for DSLR was an SB600 external flash. Exactly. If you want a good flash, you can always go to yourmaclifeshow.com. There is an amazing flash set up there, or there was. Where'd it go? Oh no, I'll have to repost it. The Yonggu something. I don't even know what it's slid off my list. Hang on, I got it right here. I got 2 of these flashes. The Yonggu Speedlight YN584. Ridiculous name. It's an off-camera flash that was $80 for 2 of them. And you'd think, oh my God, that's just going to be dirt cheap. That's just going to be plastic and tissue paper. I'm surprised at how solid these flashes are. They don't work with TTL flash. If you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. They do work very well as either an on-camera flash or an off-camera flash. What you want is a flash that does that you can have that sort of movement with your flash. So you can move the flash around. So the camera's facing this way, and I can bounce light up that way and then down there. Or I can bounce light in different directions. That's what you want on your off-camera flash or even your on-camera flash. So that light isn't going directly out and then directly back in. I've taken some great pictures in a room where I bounce the flash off the ceiling. So the shutter opens up, the flash goes off, but the flash doesn't go straight through and back. The flash goes up and then back down, and the distance softens the light, so it's not nearly as harsh, and you get a different angle on the light coming down from that way. So it'll get rid of some shadows underneath the eyes and things like that. So try to avoid using your flash whenever possible. It's unless you know what you're doing flash-wise, just using the native flash on your camera is not going to be very good. The other thing is a flash will never work more than maximum of 10 feet away, usually about 6 feet away. So if you're in a soccer stadium or football stadium or baseball stadium, you take a picture of the batter, it's not going to work. What you just did is light up the head of the guy in front of you. There's no way the light's reaching that batter, reaching that football player, and coming back to you. It's just not. You're wasting battery. So in a stadium setting or any kind of long distance setting, turn your flash off completely because it's not going to do a damn bit of good. You should also always know how to turn your flash off. My flash is always off, but you should know how to turn it off because there's some environments where you aren't allowed to use the flash or don't want to use the flash. We were at the zoo in Sydney, Australia, and these Asian women were taking pictures of bats using a flash. You know, we're in a dark room because bats, and the poor little bats are hanging upside down in this dark room because bats, and these women are firing flashes off at the poor bats. And Melissa, being the nice person she is, was trying to explain to them, turn your flash off, but they didn't speak English. So they had no idea what we were talking about. No. A lot of museums want you to turn your flash off too, because flash can destroy the colors of artwork. So know how to turn your flash off. ZUF, XUF in the IRC chat room says, what about auto flash? Sorry, you mean when the camera does the flash automatically? What happens there, that's a good question. What happens there is on, say, a Canon Rebel. You're on the auto mode, and you half press the shutter. The camera reads the light in the scene that you're pointing it to, and it says, oops, there's not enough light. This picture is going to come out very, very dark. So I will automatically pop the flash open on top of the camera and take a picture. And the camera thinks that's going to be good exposure. The camera's wrong. What the camera's done is it's created a really bright hot spot in the center of the photo. The rest of the photo will be dark, and the camera thinks that's a good exposure because the camera is stupid. So whenever possible, turn off the auto flash. If you have to read your manual, some cameras will have a auto mode, and then they'll have another mode right next to it called auto flash off. So you can still shoot in auto mode, but the flash won't come on. So look to see if your camera has that. If it does, turn it to that mode. The iPhone has you can turn the flash off mode. Don't have the iPhone be in auto flash mode, and let it come on all by itself.
What about a diffuser? Explain what a diffuser is.
Good question. Let's see. My diffuser broke off of this one. A diffuser is simply we said that the light coming out of these things straight through is very harsh. A diffuser simply does exactly that. It diffuses that light. It spreads that light out so it's softer. So if you had to shoot straight on, you would use a diffuser, and a lot of these kinds of off-camera flashes right up here at the top would have a diffuser that would slide out. Like I said, I broke mine. It's lying around here somewhere. I broke my diffuser off. So it just softens the light. It's a really good idea. You'll often see in professional photo settings that the lights will have a gauzy kind of fabric over them. I've got them here on these lights, and that gauzy fabric is a diffuser on them. If you don't have a diffuser handy, you can use something as simple as a piece of tissue paper. If you've got a pop-up flash, you need to get the photo. The pop-up flash, you can't direct the light. You can just drape a piece of tissue paper. And if you want to, if it's 2-ply, just make it 1-ply, just a little bit to diffuse that light. That's a good question. Yeah, Mac Band in a pinch, several layers of tissue will work. You can also do different diffusers that have different colors on them too. So you can get green and red and blue diffusers. That's a whole different thing, but it can be fun to play around with that kind of stuff. As always, if you have any photography questions, please send us emails to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. Always happy to answer any questions you guys might have with regards to photography. Got an email from Michael. I never say your name right. Michael Spizjack. Many moons ago, you mentioned a way to spam filter .mac accounts. Are you still using .mac? If so, what are you doing filtering? P.S. I will be resubscribing again real soon to Your Mac Life. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. I don't use .mac. I don't know if I ever did anymore, but all my spam filtering on my desktop goes through Spam Sieve. Spam, S-P-A-M, Sieve, S-I-E-V-E. It's a tiny bit fidgety to set up, but once it's set up, all of my I get about 1,000, 1,200 emails a day, and I would say Spam Sieve catches. I might get a spam email in my email inbox. In other words, a spam that Spam Sieve didn't catch, maybe once a week, and it kind of throws me off. I get it. Go, what the hell is it? Oh, okay. But it's a simple matter of using a key command to train Spam Sieve. Say, hey, Spam Sieve, you missed this one. Grab this and fix it. And Spam Sieve does it. The website is C-command Spam Sieve. There are other ways of doing it, but excuse me. Excuse me. There are other ways of doing it, but that's the way I manage my spam on my email accounts. Our friend Dave Martin down there in Cupertino says that high school we were talking about, Lane Technical College, was built back when this country built massive and beautiful high schools. I've forgotten about that. That's true. Old high schools nowadays oftentimes tend to be just square rectangular buildings. Mm-hmm. But back in the good old days, Dave includes a picture of Hayward High School. Looked like a university, and it's a beautiful Gothic columns on the front of the building. He points out that Lane Technical College, was a trade school for boys only. It opened back in 1909. Freshmen were offered carpentry, cabinet making, and wood turning. Sophomores will receive training in foundry, forge, welding, core making, and molding. Juniors could take classes in the machine shop, and seniors were able to take electric shop, which is the most advanced shop course. That's kind of cool. Thanks, Dave, for that information. Let's see if there's any other emails we got some stuff to give away.
That's right.
Thanks very much to the nice folks at KUVRD. Finally got it right the first time. KUVRDcamera.com. KUVRD KUVRD.com for those of you who haven't been paying attention, and there's no reason why you shouldn't have been. I've been raving about these. They're called a Universal Lens Cap, and it's this rubbery thing that stretches over your lens and fits every single lens I've got, and I probably got 8 or 9 of them. It fits on them just wonderfully well. It's a universal lens cap, so we're going to give another set of those away from the nice folks at KUVRDcamera.com. So we'll get Melissa. Hang on, Melissa. Let me get my mailing, my folder of all of our prizes. Oh, by the way, if you haven't had the chance, go to the top of the YourMacLifeShow.com website, and you'll see Friends of YML contest entry form. Entering any of our contests is free of charge. We don't charge you to enter the contest. But you do have to fill out a ballot at the beginning of each month or sometime during the month. You fill that form out. The form gets sent to me. I drop it into our virtual hat. And then when we do these draws, I do a draw out of the names in the virtual hat. If you subscribe to Your Mac Life, and we really like it if you did, don't worry about it. Your entry forms are automatically done when PayPal sends me your subscription information. And for every $2 above $2 initial subscription, we give you an extra entry form. So if you subscribe to Your Mac Life for $4 a month, you get 2 entry forms. If you subscribe for $6 a month, you get 3 entry forms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how we do that. So we're going to get you just going to randomize this. Where am I?
Do I say stop? What do I say again?
Eventually.
Okay.
Whenever you'd like.
Stop.
All right. It's going to go out to NetPro Consulting. I don't know who that is, but NetPro Consulting has just won a set of 2 of the curved. I just wanted to get this right. Curved Universal.
Covered.
Damn it! Covered. I hate the name of this company. I hate the name of this company.
Well, it's because you got it wrong in the first place, I think.
Such a doofus. And the nice folks at Softorino have given us a 3 codes for their latest unique ringtone and push into iPhone in one-click app. It's really cool. I'm surprised. I hate raving about stuff like this so much, so blatantly, but the ability, I'll do a review on this on next week's show, but the ability to very, very easily open the app up, and the app automatically has got songs for you to choose, to preview the songs, to trim your ringtone to be exactly the length you want at the part of the song that you want, and then to push that to your iPhone is really remarkable. I was playing around with this afternoon, and I got a ringtone of Melissa saying that she's the official spokes Australian, and that's now her ringtone, and it was easy to do. Mm-hmm. So I'm raving about it, but it's certainly worth it. It's from the nice folks at Softorino, Soft ORINO. And the software is called iRingg with 2 G's.
No, it doesn't cost. Monty's asking.
Excellent question, Monty. Let me just find out. Let's go to the website. It's $19.95. There's also a free trial. A free trial if you a tree trial. if you'd like to check it out. Softorino.com/iRing. And those nice guys have given us 3 software codes to give away. So there'll be 3 lucky winners on this show whenever you would like to say
stop.
Arthur Boucher. Arthur Boucher doesn't say where Arthur is, but Arthur has won a copy of iRing. I have to do this on the emails right away, because otherwise I will forget and go, well, who won last week? And then I got to go back, and it's just a pain in the butt. All right, so copy number 2 of the iRing software is going to go to...
Stop.
Going to go to Paul Driver in Orlando, Florida.
Orlando, Florida.
Have you ever been to Orlando?
No.
It sucks.
I haven't been to Florida.
Orlando is awful.
Yeah, why?
Because it's so touristy.
Oh.
It's so fake. The only good thing I found about Orlando was the fact that it had a Peabody Hotel. And I've told you about the Peabody. That's the one with the ducks, the Duckmaster and the ducks have been trained to go into the.
Oh yes.
There's the original one is in Nashville. I think the actual Peabody in Orlando is gone now, but otherwise, yeah.
That's right.
I hate Orlando because it's so touristy. Disneyland and a bunch of other theme parks there, but it's not just Disneyland. Or Disney World. I never remember which one's which. Everything in town is touristy. And Paul actually works for Disney.
Oh,
he actually
what,
works.
the guy that just won?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
So congratulations to.
He needs a fun ringtone.
He'll have some fun ringtones. And last but not least, we'll get Melissa to say stop one more time.
Stop.
This one's going to go out to Doug Pasnak. I think, is Doug listening? I think Doug's in the IRC chat room. He might be. He may or may not be. Doug is also a Your Mac Life subscriber. Thank you very much for doing that, Doug. And I'm going to make you
I'm glad Doug won that.
iRingg winner. Okay, so I just wanted to get those straight away because otherwise, like I said, I'll forget. But yeah, check out both KUVRDcamera.com. Universal Lens Cap, fits every lens, never falls off, element proof, and also the iRingg from the nice folks at Softorino.com. And like I said, we'll have a review of the iRingg on next week's show. I think we're done. Do you have anything?
No.
You sure? You had nothing you wanted to discuss?
No.
There was something.
There was? From me? From what I said?
Oh, shoot. Yeah, there was something that we were going to... You said you wanted to talk about in the show.
Oops.
Crap. I forgot what it is.
I think we should all send love to Monty. He's had a bad day.
Why? What's happened?
He had a flat tire and he's saying everything wrong and everything is touched is broken or it need to be picked up twice or something.
Monty, how did you get your flat tire fixed? ZUF says, do you like photos versus iPhoe? I don't know what you mean.
I know, I saw that. I didn't know it.
Sorry, ZUF. XUF. XUF, I don't use photos. I'm a nominally a professional photographer, and photos just doesn't do enough for me, so I use Adobe's Lightroom. Do you think there'll be changes to iLife? I mean, like iMovie? If you're talking about general changes, yeah. But if you're talking about changes because of the new chip architecture, yeah, it has to be. Absolutely has to be. ZUF, you said, saw my question, Shawn King. Whenever you want to, this is a general thing, whenever you want to ask me a question in the IRC chat room, if you use my name, Shawn King, no space, it flashes up red on my screen. So I didn't see your question initially, XUF. I hate your name.
Sorry, Zoof. That's
Zoof?
how I'd say.
That's why I didn't see it, because I didn't see the red flash. Monty says, Brad rescued me, brought me my floor jack, changed to the spare, which is also flat. Your spare was flat? And followed me to the filling station where we're airing all the tires, then took me to Zasby's. Yeah, Zoof is now known as Zoof. Thank you.
I like Zoof.
Zoof is much better.
That's cool.
I like Zoof much better than the other ones. Yeah, that I was asking Monty because I'm completely incompetent in that kind of stuff. I have to call like professionals.
Really?
Well,
so if I get a flat tire somewhere, you're not going to come be my knight on shining motorcycle?
The thing is, I don't know how to change a flat. I don't know where to put the jack. Is there a jack in your truck?
Of course.
I don't know where the jack goes. Is there a spot?
There's a spot for your jack.
But is it obvious?
Absolutely
Does it
obvious.
say put jack here, Shawn?
Jack is here, Shawn.
So
here I am.
Okay. See, because that I can do. I can do the jacking up parts, and I can unscrew the nuts. Lug nuts.
Lug nuts.
Lug nuts.
Yay, Shawn. Woohoo!
Shut up. I can unscrew those, and then I can get the tire off and put the tire back on. So, but that's what terrifies me about changing a tire is putting that jack up in the wrong spot, and either punching a hole into the gas tank or having the car fall over on me.
No, I'm not gonna call you if I can do it. I can do it. Don't worry about it.
See, that's why when I was in the States, I had AAA, and in Canada I should have BCAA up here because I'm a boob. Remember, I'm the guy who locked his keys in his car with the engine running.
Okay.
That's how much of a dimwit I am.
Okay.
So.
Mm-hmm.
You don't sound as impressed as I would have expected you to be. That's it for tonight's show, folks. Thank you guys very much for joining us. Don't forget, you can send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Please subscribe to the show. We are going to use that money to pay for better lighting and new computers and a better microphone stand for poor Melissa. A lavalier mic. I'd like to get you a lavalier mic.
A lavalier mic.
Yes,
that's
that's the tie clip mic.
Oh, yes.
Because
I'll
at
become
least
like an anchor woman.
At least with the lavalier mic, we can see your face much better.
Right.
And everyone
This
wants
big
to see your
bulbous
face.
red thing. It's like a clown nose.
Folks, that's it for the show. I want to say thanks to our good friend Jim Dalrymple of The Loop at loopinsight.com for joining us. Thanks to you guys for joining us, whether you're tuned in live or listening to the archive. Thanks to my lovely wife, Melissa, for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course I will. As always, I've been Shawn King.
I'm Melissa King.
And you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!
Bye.